Alright, so we did not have any homework yesterday, so we're going to just go ahead into our notes. Today we're going to look at adding rational numbers. Okay? Now, rational numbers are not just integers. Okay? So they're not just counting numbers. They're also decimals and fractions. So some of them are positive, some of them are negative. Okay? So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the process for adding fractions. So we just added a fraction on our bell work. So the first thing I did was make a improper into, or mixed into improper. So I'm going to make mixed into improper. And then I always need a what when I'm adding fractions? Common denominator. A common denominator. And then I'll just add or subtract the numerators, okay? So this is what we should be writing. So add or subtract the numerator.
Miss Wilson, can I see Wendy real quick?
Yeah.
Hey, Wendy, come on.
Okay, so I'll add and subtract the numerators. And then the process for adding adding decimals, okay? So I'm going to put decimals here. Okay, we're going to line up decimal places. And then we're going to insert 0 as placeholders if needed. So insert placeholder if needed. So I'm going to give you all a couple minutes here to get caught up on that, and then we'll get going.
Does that mean if or no?
If needed. Now, the really awesome thing about adding rational integers and like decimals, fractions, is that you don't have to remember any new rules, okay? Same sign, add and keep. Different sign, subtract. And that's what you need to know, okay? So if it's same sign, add and keep, different signs will subtract. So that's what I was saying right here. The same steps apply to adding various types of rational numbers. Right? So, our rules that we were just saying. If the signs are the same, we add and keep. So like these 5 problems here. These are all the same sign within that problem. So what is 7 plus 6? 13. And negative 8 plus negative 11? Negative 19, because it's same sign, add and keep. What about negative 3 plus negative 6? Negative 9. And negative 5 plus negative 14? Negative 19, because it's same sign, add and keep, and then 3 plus 12 is 15. Same sign, add and keep. And then the next part, if signs are different, so different sign, subtract. And then if they say take the sign of the number with the greatest absolute value, we shorten that to keep the sign of the bigger number. Alright, so that next little section there, -2 plus 10. 8, because they're different signs. So I subtract, so 10 minus 2 is 8. 10 is bigger, so it's positive 10, positive 8. Ooh, what about 8 plus -17? -9. Those are different signs, so I subtract. So 17 minus 8 is 9. 17 is bigger, it's negative, so that's why it's -9. What about 9 plus -7? 2. It's also different signs, subtract. So 9 minus 7 is 2. 9's bigger, it's positive, so positive 2. -11 plus 3. -8. Different signs. So 11 minus 3 is 8. 11's bigger, it's negative, so that's why it's -8. What about -15 plus 9? -6. Different signs, subtract. 15 minus 9 is 6. 15's bigger, it's negative, so that's why it's -6. So they're wanting you to see that the rules for integers are the exact same rules for rational numbers, for decimals and fractions. So once again, if signs are the same, we add and keep. If signs are different, what do? We subtract. So we're just writing the same words in there again. Alright, so we're going to go through and we're going to do some of these problems now. So we're going to kind of slow it down for a minute and we're going to talk about what do we do when we're adding decimals. And then we'll stop and slow down with the fractions too. Okay, so I know this doesn't give you a whole lot of room, but we're going to try to squeeze it. So I said when we're adding decimals, I first line up the decimal place value and then I'll fill in any missing values with a 0. So what I mean by missing values, okay? I'm gonna make a new paper real quick, okay? So hold on. So what I mean by a missing value, like if you have 3.12 plus 4.7, does anybody see anything missing? Sakshi? You put a 0 behind the 7, because if I were to line these up, I line up the decimal places. So I put the 4.7 right there. I'm missing this placeholder. So I would have to fill in a 0. So that's what it means by filling in a placeholder, okay? Does everybody understand? Alright, so I'm going to go back. Alright, so remember, if they're same sign, I'm just going to add them together and keep the sign. So 4.5 plus 6.3. They are same sign because they're both positive, right? Everybody agree? So I'm going to rewrite it to be 4.5 and 6.3. So I'm just going to rewrite it vertically and line up my decimals. So same sign, add and keep. So 5 plus 3 is 8. And then I just drop down my decimal. And 4 plus 6 is 10, and I just keep it positive because they were both positive. Same sign, add and keep. And that would be it. Alright, the next one. They're same sign, add and keep again. They're both negative, right? So I'm going to add them together and keep the negative sign. So -1.8. and -1.6. So I'm just going to leave the signs off of them because I know that I'm same sign, add, and keep. So what is 8 plus 6?
14.
14. So I'm gonna put my 4 and carry my 1. And then 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3, and I keep my negative, so it's negative 3.4. Alright, the next one. Again, they're both negative. So same sign, add and keep. So it's going to be 3.7 and 6.5, and I'm going to add them together and keep the negative sign. So 7 plus 5 is 12. So I'm going to put my 2 and carry my 1. So 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 plus 6 is 10. So it's negative 10.2. Same sign, add them together, and keep the sign. So I added them together, I kept the negative. Are there any questions on those 3?
No, ma'am.
All right, you do the next 2 in that spot. Now, when you go home tonight, after you do all of these by yourself, what should you do? Use a calculator to check them, and that's instant feedback right there that you know if you're doing them right or not. Alright, so I'm going to do these 2 now, because it looks like most of us are done right already. Okay, so same sign, add and keep. So 15.6 plus 14.0. So that'll be 6, 9, 29.6, but I keep the negative because they were same sign, add and keep. We good on that one? Good, right? All right, this one. They're also same sign, so I'm going to add them together, and I'm going to keep the sign. Now, you can put a placeholder of 0 if you want there. It's not as important as it is after the decimal, okay? So after the decimal, the placeholders are a really big deal, but before the decimal, not so much. So 3 plus 8 is? 11. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 2 is 6, and 1 plus nothing is 1. Same sign, add and keep it positive. So 16.1. All right, the next section. If they're different signs, subtract. Keep the sign of a larger number, then I'll be exact. All right, so on this section, every year when I've always taught stuff like this, it's like we don't know what to subtract. So I'm going to go back up here, okay, just for a second. When I had negative 2 plus 10, what did you subtract first? The 10. 10 minus 2 and got 8, and then you saw 10 was bigger, so it's positive. When you did this one, what did you subtract first? 9. And why are you choosing the 10 to subtract first, the 9 to subtract first, the 11 to subtract first? Because the number is bigger. So when I go down here to decimals, I'm going to take the bigger number minus the smaller number and then keep the sign of the bigger number. Okay? So different signs subtract, keep the sign of larger number, then I'll be exact. So when I do negative 2.5 plus 10.7, I notice they're different signs. So I'm going to take 10.7 and I'm going to subtract 2.5. So I'm going to take the bigger one minus the smaller one because they're different signs subtract. All right, so what is 7 minus 5? 2. And what's 10 minus 2? 8. Now, which number was bigger? The positive number. So my answer is positive 8.2. Alright, let's look at the next one. 8.2 plus negative 17.6. They're different signs. So different sign, subtract. So I'm going to subtract the bigger number minus the smaller number. So 6 minus 2 is 4. And then 17 minus 8 is 9. Now which number was bigger? The 17.6, and it was negative. So my answer is negative 9.4. Keep the sign of the larger number, then I'll be exact.
You hear that? It's like all up in here.
Alright, this one, 9.0 plus negative 7.4. They're different signs. One's positive, one's negative. Different sign, subtract. So the bigger one minus the smaller one. Ooh, 0 minus 4.
You have to
Is that
borrow,
right?
you have to borrow from the 9.
You have to borrow from the 9, okay? So not all of them are going to be as easy as those first two. You're going to have to borrow some. So this 9, I'm going to mark it out. It's going to become an 8. And the 0 is going to become a 10. I borrow. So 10 minus 4 is 6. Drop down my decimal. And 8 minus 7 is 1. And which one of these is bigger? The 9 is positive 9, so my answer is positive 1.6. Alright, you all try those next two on your own. Different signs, so I'm going to subtract. So 11.8 minus 3.3. So 8 minus 3 is
5.
5, and 11 minus 3 is
8.
8. Keep the sign of the larger one, so
11.8.
so this will be negative 8.5 because 11.8 is bigger and it's a negative. Alright, again, different signs, so I'm going to subtract. So 7 minus 2,
5.
5. 15 minus 9,
6.
6. Which one's bigger?
The negative.
The negative one, negative 15.7 is bigger, so it's negative 6.5. Any questions about the decimals? Not too bad, right?
Nope, not at all.
Alright, you ready to hit some fractions?
Nope.
Oh, come on.
Well, I'm okay with this.
Well, the first little part, they all have common denominators. So that part's done for us, which is the hardest part, right? Okay. So, the steps for fractions are still the same. So if the signs are the same, we same sign, add and keep. If signs are different, what do I do?
Subtract.
Subtract. So I wrote that now 3 times. Hopefully that's stuck in our head. Hopefully at dinner we're like, same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Your parents are gonna be like, what?
We sing it
Do
again.
a little dance moves with it. I bet ain't no G's at home rapping. So rapping some math words, right? No? Alright, so I'm going to talk about negatives on a fraction for a second. Okay? This is a very big deal that we're going to have to know. Okay? Everybody done writing my words for a second? Quit doing the problems, but working ahead. Okay, something that's so A negative out front just says that that fraction is negative. Okay? A negative on the top still says that that fraction is negative. A negative on the bottom still says that fraction is negative, but a negative like this says the fraction is what?
Negative? Positive.
Positive. Because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay? So, a negative fraction. That negative is only on one of the numbers. It is not on both, because if you have two negatives, that makes it a positive. So does everybody understand and listening?
Yep.
If the negative fraction, only the negative is on one of them. And you will mostly see me write it like this one. Okay? The book will typically write it like this, but these are the exact same thing, okay? If that negative is out front, then that means that fraction is negative. If there's no sign on it, then it's positive, okay? Alright. Okay, so this one, these are both positive fractions. Does everybody agree? Those are both positive fractions? So same sign. So look, denominators. The denominators are already the same denominator. So now I can just add my numerators and call it a day. So 3 plus 4 is 7 fifths. And that's it. And it's positive. Same sign, add and keep. So positive 7 fifths. I'm not making you change them back to mixed numbers. Okay, this next one. A negative and a negative. They're both negative fractions. So same sign, add and keep. So 5 6 plus 5 6 is, what's 5 plus 5? 10, so that's going to be negative 10 6, because it's same sign, add and keep. Now, look at 10 6. What do you notice about 10 and 6?
It's
They're
Both divisible by 2, because they're both even. So I can reduce it by 2, and that will reduce to negative 5 thirds. So sometimes we have to reduce. Alright, the third one. Oh, I notice there's mixed numbers. I don't deal with mixed numbers. So I'm first going to change it to improper. So 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So that's negative 3/4 plus negative 7/4. Oh, they're both negative. Same sign. Add and keep. So that's going to become, what's 3 plus 7? 10. So that's negative 10/4.
oh, you can
You can reduce.
Yeah.
It's divisible by 2.
It's also divisible by 2 because they're both even numbers. So that reduces to negative 5 over 2. Alright, why don't you all try those two at the top? Probably gonna have no voice tomorrow. What's gonna happen? Sinus infection. Snot screen, in case anybody wondering.
what?
The snot is green, in case you were wondering. You were wondering? Almost the color of your shirt, Shelley. If I go into the way, I'm gonna remember your name. Let's just call you Shelley. Is that alright? Sometimes it looks like Preston's shirt. Andy, did you get both of these right? Yes?
Have faith in yourself. He's still working.
3 plus 9 is 12 over 10, and I keep the negative sign. Everybody get that? And then I can reduce it to by 2. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. 10 divided by 2 is 5.
Yeah. Wait, I read the same thing.
You did?
Yeah. Ah, wait, never mind.
Oh.
I
Alright, and then that last one, oh, they're mixed numbers. I don't deal with mixed numbers, so let's make them improper first. So 2 times 8 is 16, plus 3 is 19. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So I made them both improper. So I already have a common denominator here, so I look at it, they're same sign, add and keep. So 19 plus 9, that's 28 over 8. You can reduce this one by what?
2. I know you can do it too.
Okay, well, we can reduce it by 2, but we could also reduce it by 4. But if you didn't know that, reduce by 2, so that's 14 over 4. But they're still even, so I reduce them by 2 again to get 7 halves. You could have reduced by 4 here. 28 divided by 4 is 7. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Alright, let's look at them if they're different signs. Okay, so if they're different signs, I'm still going to follow my first rule. Make all mixed numbers improper, and then go ahead and look for a common denominator, and then do different signs, subtract. So on this one, the denominator is already common, but I have a mixed number, so we're going to change that. So 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Everybody good with that part? Alright, and then look at this. It's negative 2/3 plus 4/3. They're different signs. So different sign, subtract. So I'm not going to even look here, so it's like negative 2 plus 4.
2.
So 4 minus 2 is 2. 4 is bigger, it's positive 2, so this is positive 2/3. I'm going to do more, so it's okay. Alright, the next one, 7/8 plus negative 5/8. They're already both regular fractions, common denominator, but they're different signs. So different sign, subtract. So look at just the tops. So 7 plus negative 5. So 7 minus 5 is 2. 7's bigger, so it's positive 2/8. Can that reduce?
Yeah.
To what? 1/4. I can't remember if it was this class, but somebody, when we were doing fractions last week, made all their answers decimals. We're not going to make these decimals, okay? If they're already a fraction, they stay a fraction. If they're already a decimal, then they stay a decimal. Don't change them. It was like, I don't know what day it was. Alright, this one. Already proper fractions, common denominator, so I'm going to look at the tops. 5 plus negative 7. So that's different sign, subtract. So 7 minus 5 is 2. 7's bigger, it's negative, so it's negative 2 over 12. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and then we can reduce this one by 2 again.
1/6.
So it's 1/6, so negative 1/6. Alright, you try those last two. top. So negative 8 plus 4. Different sign, subtract. So 8 minus 4 is 4. 8's bigger, it's negative. So it's negative 4 over 9, which does not reduce. You did get it right? Alright, and then the last one. This is not an improper fraction, so 1 times 10 is 10, plus 3 is 13. So I made it improper. And then I already have a common denominator, so I'm going to go ahead and just do the tops. So negative 7 plus 13. What is negative 7 plus 13? 6. 6. No. Yeah. 6. You all are confusing me. 6. 13 minus 7 is 6. 13's bigger, it's positive. So it's positive 6/10, which reduces to 3/5. Alright, and then the last section, we're only going to do like one out of here, okay? Because we've been working on this. Okay, so last thing. When they are not like denominators, you're first going to find a common denominator and then follow the same steps for adding fractions with like denominators. Like I said, I'm just going to do one in this section, and then I think we're okay because we've been working on this for a while. Alright, so I'm going to do this one. So, looking at it, step 1 is to change all mixed numbers to improper. So, 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. And that's the one that's negative, so I'm going to keep my negative there. Everybody okay with what I did? Yes. Okay? And then after that, after I make them improper, then I have to have a common denominator. This one does not currently have a common denominator. One of them is 12, one of them is 3. What would the common denominator of 12 and 3 be? Sakshi?
12.
12. Okay, one of them's already 12, so let's make the other one 12. So 3 times what makes 12? 4. So I'm going to multiply this one by 4. So that's 3 12s plus 5 times 4, that's 20 12s. And then it's just like the other ones. Is this one same or different signs? Different, so different sign. Subtract. So 20 minus 3 is 17. Keep the sign of the larger number. 20's bigger, it's negative. Then I'll be exact. So negative 17 12ths, which does not reduce. Okay. What does it mean when I say odd numbers? Count. Just start counting odd numbers.
1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13.
Even.
Okay. So tonight we are only going to do the odd problems. You are doing 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. So those are the ones you are doing, are the odd ones. Okay, is everybody good? No? So circle 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. Those are the ones that you are doing.
What happened to 6?
6 is an even number.
I know that.